All right, welcome back to Amateurs Abroad.
What?
Now we're going to talk this week about traveling with your dog. I traveled with my dog, and I have some differences because Bodhi is a service animal, and so I had different requirements than others, but I can talk a little bit about each and definitely tell you how it went with Bodhi. So, that was like one of my biggest freakouts is, oh gosh, how's this going to go? Because she's a service animal, but she's also been a service animal during COVID, and I work from home. It's not like we're in airports traveling all the time. And that's another thing people, like, I saw some videos because I was looking it up before leaving, like, okay, what does it look like, all that stuff. And I saw videos of, like, one service animal, like, shivering nervous, and this guy's like, what kind of service animal? And everyone, luckily, in the comments were like, this is probably the first time in an airport. Like, back off, buddy. And it is. It's there. Who does training, you know, on airplanes? They just don't. And so
you can't really.
No, and the animal's still there to meet your needs. It's just they are allowed to, you know, be in a different situation. So before I went, because she's like a COVID service dog, I did some refresher training with her, and then I made sure to start taking her around with me out and about more often, or not more often, but just to places I wouldn't normally go. Like, I'm not going to Home Depot, but I knew that it would have like the forklifty things that beep and are lifting up pallets and all that. So
a lot of noises and people that they, Yeah.
And also the change in the ground, because you have tile and stuff at the airports and all that. And so being in those kind of stores and stuff to make sure, like, we went in the Home and Garden Center, and it's just rougher in Home Depot. So it was like Home Depot, Targets, all those things, but exposing her more. Also, I went to the train station with her and stuff so she could hear overhead speakers, things that, why would I don't hear them every day in my life. So I did that. But universally for any dog, whether it's going to be when it's a service animal or not, you have to get a USDA approved vet. So not all the vets are approved, so your vet necessarily won't be. Mine was not, so I had to go and know another vet. And when I called ahead, I called one person, made an appointment. They didn't know really what I was talking about, but they knew someone there did it. And then the other one I called, they're like, oh yeah, have you done this? You need it? Like, totally versed in it. So I was like, done. It's gonna be you. Because I was stressed. And so
they should know more than you.
Right. The big thing was you have to have a rabies vaccination more than 21 days before you travel. I thought so rabies, from what I understand, you can get a 1 year or 3 year. I got a 3 year for her. But Europe doesn't count a 3 year. They count it, the 3 year is equal to a 1, because I guess the potency goes down. So the 3 year is a 1 year. So hers was like a year and a half into a 3 year, which meant to them, no. So I had to get her rabies shot outside of 21 days. I thought it was 30 days. So I think I did it outside of 30 days. And it has to be a 1 year bout. So that you can't change the timeline on that. If you haven't done that, you're changing your flight ticket. So I had the first, and was good too, because then I had the first appointment with them. I told them this is all that's happening. We made sure her microchip could be read. They made sure the microchip was matched with the rabies shot, like all that. So it was documented. Good. And so the dog has to be microchipped or have a tattoo on them. I guess if some people don't want a microchip, or I don't know, maybe they're allergic to microchips.
Brand them the tattoo.
Yeah. So she got that, and then within 10 days before leaving, they have to have a health certificate issued. So and they have to get their checkup. So we went back. They did the physical, they matched the chip, they had the, rabies stuff, all that. And then they filled out all the documents. One thing to make sure is they know to fill out the documents, because with the date, like the Europe does a date. So we do month, day, year. They do day, month, year. So that looked weird to me, but it was all correct. And then after that, they either, whether it's, they have an electronic system that they can upload it to the USDA. Mine did not. They did the overnight FedEx. So they overnight FedExed it to this, basically the state capitals where the office was at. And I was so nervous. Like, I have 10 days and 2 weekends are over these 10 days. Like, are you kidding me? And so they FedExed it, and then you prepay a FedEx to send it back to you. And so I had both tracking numbers. The day they received it, USDA, they sent it back. So it was lickety split. So we were fine. So I got, I received the documents for the health certificate. And then, on the airline site, most of them have the documents you need for travel. There's 2 government, documents you need. One that you're saying my dog won't go to the bathroom on the flight, or is able to hold it, won't go to the bathroom, or I have these, this is the plan in place, like puppy pads, or if I take them to the bathroom and put a puppy pad, they'll use a bathroom in the bathroom. And also it says that you're willing to, you understand you will be responsible for any cleaning or damages. And I was like, so you sign that, and then the other one you have to complete is one, if it's a service animal, you are completing where the training was, what breed it is, all that stuff. Now, if I went, and that allowed her to be on the plane with me. If if it was a small little dog, then I could put it in a carrier that would fit underneath, and that's an extra fee, and you have to work that with the airline. Or if it's a bigger one, you put it in a crate, and it has to be an approved crate. There's only certain crates, and also certain carriers you use. Their measurements are important. People have been turned away with the wrong measurements, that you use to check your dog in, and it goes into cargo. Now, if you're traveling long distance like I did, there's certain seasons and stuff. You can't travel in the winter with a dog that's going to be in cargo for 8 hours. And also, my vet would have had to sign off on if the dog is capable of doing that, and not all dogs are. So they gave me also some drugs for Bodhi in case, but in case, because again, it's unexpected. Totally fine. She was fine. So didn't have the drugs. So curious if people can take those drugs. But the dog did not need the drugs. So those are the forms you need. So when you check in, so you also had to call ahead, obviously, just showing up. And then they were great when the check-in. I flew Delta. They were terrific, and checked everything in. The other measures that I did, because when you go through TSA, metal goes off, the dog's collar is going to go off, the dog's going to be patted down with a guy with blue rubber gloves. And, while she's good with pats and stuff, I don't know. And so I just wanted the least amount of stress for me. She did amazing. And I mean, she would have been fine anyway. But for my stress, what I did is I got her a collar that it has a plastic rings. And so so there's no metal to go off.
Right.
So she had her service animal vest on, but at TSA, I took her vest off. Her collar had a plastic ring, and then I just got a piece of rope instead of having her leash. Put that on, and then she walked right through with me. If she had been a little dog, I could have carried her. And I also could have had her sit there. I walk through, then she comes through after me. But she didn't go off, and so they didn't have to pat her down or anything. And it was super easy. And then I put her vest on, put her regular leash back on, and off we went. And she was like prancing around like I'm a working animal. And everyone was like, well, look at her. And it was like she was thriving. And then I again checked in at the gate to give them a heads up, because no one likes to be surprised. You don't have to, but it just, everything went smooth because I was nice. Like, I wasn't like, I know my rights, I'm freaking out on everybody. Like, everyone knows your rights. Like, just calm down, And so, but it's so intense, you're really nervous. And so I just went up, said, hey, this is the deal. This is how I'm going to have her sit. She has a blanket. I'll put it down. She'll lay down. Awesome. And on the flight, so I flew from San Francisco to JFK to Rome to Palermo. From JFK to Rome, only even one of the flight attendants knew she was on the plane. The other ones are like, oh, you had a dog when we're checking out when I'm getting off? Like, yeah, been here the whole time, all 8 hours, It's like, she was here. And in each of the airports, I looked in advance and I wrote down where the dog relief, pet relief area is. And like I was telling you, like people were saying, oh, she won't use it. And I'm like, I don't care. I want to make sure. And sure enough, she didn't use it.
Yeah.
She did not use it. And I was like, but I also like gave her water just to kind of wet her mouth, not to like slurp down a whole bucket, a whole bowl. So I gave her that. She had a little bit of food on each of the flights. So she wasn't going to starve to death or die. It was, but I didn't want to put her in the position that she had to worry about going to the bathroom either, you know? So
and we've learned that dogs are just messing with us because she held it for how long?
20 hours.
So 20 hours. They don't need to go out every 5 hours.
No, they do not. They just yell at you at the door and they don't need to go out. So yeah. So when we landed, I'd take her to the pet relief, then I'd find my gate, and then before I took off, take her to pet relief. Never used it. Never. But it's really nice that they have them there. I thought it was really nice. But she was like, why am I in here? Get me out of this box. Because they're not big.
What are we doing?
It's kind of like an office with fake grass and tile everywhere and a hose. So it's like, well, yeah, it's not. It's not. And you kind of, when you walk out, like people are like, where do they come from? Oh, pet relief. And I was like feeling dirty. I'm like, no. Yeah. But it was
with all those documents and all those things you need to get for the dog, what kind of financial responsibility is that? Is it a huge?
I think it was $350 for the vet appointment, the rabies, and them filling out the documents, and then it was $29 for each, the FedEx there and the FedEx to me. So it was $350 plus another $60, so for like $410. And there was no other fee with the airlines for me because she was a service animal. But when you're crated and stuff, there is a fee for that. So it's you know, this definitely
it's not huge, but it's not cheap either.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then am I right? See what my notes say. So I got this health certificate 10 days before. Also, so that's how we did it. She was fine. She did great. She which was ridiculous because people are like, you're worried about your service animal. Your service animal is supposed to be worried about you. I'm like, she doesn't know we're traveling. Like, of course I'm going to be worried. But then once we got there, she was fine again. And then we went and rented the car. Still didn't go to the bathroom. I went down 2 exits and then stopped at some grass. And then she went to the bathroom. I fed her. I watered her. Got in the car. Went to Moose Valley. So I was very happy that I had the collar with no metal and the rope thing and the blanket for her just to lay so she knew what was expected of her. And that's a big thing. She just knew what was expected of her. Then she could focus on me. She didn't have to worry about anything else. So it wasn't a big deal. But the other things I did look into before because I thought I misunderstood. I thought that there were you can hear her shaking or like itching herself. I thought, because the airlines changed it, no, emotional support animals can't be on the plane. So I was thinking service animals couldn't at first. And so I got nervous. And so I started looking around, and you can, if you have a big dog that can't go underneath the plane in a crate, you can do a couple things. There's a pest transport company, but there's also, you can be on Facebook. They have different groups where you can be part of a group where they rent a private jet. And it's expensive. It's like 10 to 12,000 to go, well, from California, or no, actually it wasn't even going to California. Remember, I was
no, you had to go somewhere else. Yeah,
I had to go to New Jersey, and it wasn't flying into Italy. It was flying into London. I think I was looking at London, Paris, and Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Then I would take the train, because in Europe the trains are dog friendly. You just have to have a muzzle. Yeah. Oh, that was another thing. So we took Delta until Rome, and then Rome to Palermo we took ITA, and their requirement was that she has a muzzle available, and I had one. And then it was up to the airline, the flight attendants, if she needed it on. She presented well. She didn't need to have it on. But I just hooked it to her service vest so they saw that it was there. But also every change of flight, I would recheck in with the gate agent people because I didn't want them to be surprised. And then they would let the crew know.
Yeah, and you don't know who's a new flight attendant, who's new, you know, like, it's always good. If you don't check in, that's when there's a problem. It always happens.
Exactly.
And when you do,
most
they're like, okay,
pictures with her, and some of them had treats for her and all that. So I was like, oh, okay, this is great. And so, yeah. But so the private jets, and I'll put some links to the Facebook groups here, but the private jets, like, say it was 100,000 to do it, and then 10 people go, so they divide it by 10, and it's you and one animal, or sometimes it was you and 2 animals. And if it was 2 humans, it was like it wasn't another 10 grand, it was another add-on, but so there were different prices depending on who's going, but I think most people would just pick one of the couple to take an animal, and then they
like you're going
cheap.
You're in Coke, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So you're in a private jet with your animal. Your animal is not on seats. They have to lay in front of you or sit next to you. You have space. There's 10 other animals or 12 other animals around. So in advance, they get the breed. So you don't always know the date either, because they have to get 10 people together that are going to France or going to Italy and Portugal was one of the ones too, and Spain. They have to get people that are going. So you kind of then all decide on a date together. And then you put your dog's like breed, if they have issues, if they're like, I will make friends with everyone, or I want no one next to me. Like and then they do like a seating chart. I mean, you're a school teacher, you do the same thing. Who's going to be nice to people and who's not? Exactly. So they do that.
They might change mid-flight.
Yeah, and then they have backup plans, and most of those are done by like volunteers. But then there's another canine airplane thing that has, I think, 5 different destinations, and they have basically a flight a month. So the benefit is that you do have a date. The other benefit is the private plane is rented there and back, so they get a better rate, because instead of the 10 people there, the 10 people back, you're getting it, 10 people there, you're getting 10 there, 10 back. So it's 20 people that's dividing the whole price of it. And it's doing like a turnaround thing. So that's cheaper too. So I'll link that in here also in the description. So you can do it that way. And then pet transport companies, what else? I think that's it, but definitely there's specific carriers, specific things. You can have dogs, and look at the websites, because some of the airplanes you can have dogs that are a certain height and a certain weight underneath for just a small fee, and that's like, I think it was 20 pounds was the heaviest I was seeing, and she's 40, and she's not fitting under anything. But I was surprised, because she's 40 pounds and a medium-sized dog, and she would fit under my legs and right under the thing. So I didn't have any carry-on stuff. It was I had a bag for her, and then it was just her all the way, so that there was I had nothing else taking up space. So that was good.
And did you? If I didn't hear him, I apologize. But did you buy her an extra seat, or no? It was just attached. No,
I did not. So on this instance, I was very nervous. So I flew business class, so I had more space. But Delta would have allowed me to buy 2 seats. And so next time, if I travel with her, like, this was pretty much one way to Italy, but if I come back, say for Christmas or something like that, in that instance, I'll buy 2 seats. Also have the window, because there's and I'm an aisle girl, but I didn't want aisles coming in, like hitting her leash or her toenails. And the window has like 2 more inches of, little bowing out, I guess. And so I would buy 2 seats, and I would sit in the middle and have her laying at but sit in the middle, but like lift the thing up. So I have 2 seats. And it was basically, I want her to have the leg room under 2 people and because of the length of the flight, I absolutely would. So no, I didn't say that, but yeah, that's a really good point. Cause I know I talked to you about, like, okay, it was cheaper to get 2 cheap seats than it would have been to obviously fly business class. But business class, it wasn't like hugely bad, because it was a special and stuff. So I was glad. But I also got a lot of points from that. So maybe I'll be flying business class next time, because once you get those points going. So, and that's one thing I do too, is that I'm getting when I booked an Airbnb for something, I did it through Airbnb Delta, so that I got points for that, because I'm like, any upgrade points I'm going to want. But yeah, I would definitely buy 2 for her, for the distance and the flight, for her comfort and my comfort. I don't want my knees and my ears for 8 hours on one of the flights. Like, But the other airline, ITA, would not let me buy 2, but it was a 45-minute flight. So
that makes sense.
It was fine. And she was so over it by then. She's like,
whatever, just tell me
right here. Tell me when we're done. That's
You
how I
feel
felt
good.
too.
Hopefully you feel good because I feel tired.
And she really slept the whole time, and she'd wake up a little and check in. Yeah, I'm sure she was aware of me, but she'd like check in, and then all right, I'll just go back to sleep. I'm like, okay,
Right.
well, glad you are, because I'm not sleeping at all in these 20 hours. And just, I can't sleep on planes. You know that. I think I slept 1 or 2 hours. I was so annoyed. God.
I don't know why. Neither of us can.
No.
Very annoying.
Maybe we were afraid our parents would leave us or something. Let's blame it on our parents. We have to blame it on our parents somehow.
It's stuck here.
But we did have an uncle. We did have an uncle that we went to pick him up in San Francisco from a flight, and they didn't. This was when I was, so it was like 40 years ago. He's
right.
45 years ago. But he came to visit us. He fell asleep. They didn't wake him up, and then he went on to the next destination. So that was like, because we were at the gate and he didn't come out. And so that was back when you could even go to a gate. They didn't have boarding passes the same, so they just assumed he was going the next flight. So maybe that's why. We'll blame it on him.
Listen, I still have trauma from being left from Disneyland. Don't be that person when someone says, "Did everybody go to the bathroom before we leave?" Never gonna do that again, because then everybody left.
Right. Yeah, don't be the last bathroom.
Don't be the last bathroom. Be the first.
And if you are, have the car keys.
Right. And don't have 2 cars to not realize you're missing a kid.
Yeah. I mean, we did not leave the subdivision. We got to the edge of the subdivision.
It was pretty young, and it's still a memory.
Yeah, there were some tears streaming down your face as we pulled up and you were on the front lawn going,
like, what? They're going to Disney without me. Awesome.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the grocery store.
I'm going to eat this week. No, all the things.
Sorry about that. It wasn't us, it was our parents.
Right?
Blame it on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now just makes
if
me
you have any questions on pet travel that I could answer with service animal, I'd be happy to. And then the airlines are very helpful. All the airlines have a special service desk for special accommodations and stuff. And when I called them, because again, I was so nervous, I want to make sure, because I didn't want to be checking in and everyone's like, nope, sorry. And I was like, what do you mean? You know, my luggage,
that might have been what the website said, but
so I called it for Delta, I called it for ITA, and then since I've traveled with her on Serbian Airlines and on ITA, and they have, you have to let them know in advance. She laid down fine, everything's been fine. So it's not a problem to do. It's just as long as you put in the pay attention up front, it's all good, and just be nice and check in. That's it. So
sweet.
But if you have questions, I'll put those links in. If you have any questions, let us know. Okay.